Hello, my friends. Welcome to a global pop episode of 30 Albums for 30 Years. I am your host, Jay Sweet. Today, we will be discussing the music of Portugal and the Cape Verde Islands. So that's mainly Fado music, F-A-D-O, and Morna music, M-O-R-N-A. So let's get into it. The music of Portugal and the Cape Verde Islands. So before we get into the music of Portugal, let's learn a little bit about the area. Early on, prehistoric Celtic inhabitants lived in the region that is now Portugal, as did the Phoenicians and the Carthaginians. In 27 BC, the Romans established a province there. After the fall of the Roman Empire, the Visigoths ruled the Iberian Peninsula, including Portugal. This begins around the 5th century. Then Muslim rule. 711, the Moors invaded the Iberian Peninsula and established Islamic rule in that area, followed by a Christian Reconquista movement beginning in the 11th century. So then Christian rule. And then Portugal officially emerged as a separate kingdom in 1139 when Afonso I defeated the Moors and declared himself the first king of Portugal. Now recognized as a kingdom, Portugal played a prominent role in the Age of Discovery, with explorers like Vasco da Gama and Ferdinand Magellan discovering sea routes to India and worldwide. The Treaty of Tordesillas in 1494 divided these newly discovered lands between Portugal and Spain. Portugal then establishes a global empire in the 15th and 16th centuries with colonies and trading posts in Africa, Asia, and the Americas. In 1755, the Lisbon earthquake created a great deal of devastation in Portugal and really reshaped the way Portuguese individuals looked upon society and politics and the need for better infrastructure. In the early 19th centuries, Portugal was occupied by Napoleon's forces during the Peninsular War. The Portuguese royal family then fled to Brazil, where they established the Portuguese Empire capital. In 1820, a liberal revolution took place in Portugal, leading to a constitutional monarchy and new political reform. And then, 1910, another revolt led to the establishment of the Portuguese Republic, ending the monarchy. Portugal then endured a period of political instability, including the authoritarian rule of Antonio Salazar, which lasted from 1932 till 1968. The Carnation Revolution in 1974 ended the Estado Novo regime, that's Salazar's regime, leading to a transition to democracy and the end of colonial wars, notably in Africa. Portugal then joined the European Economic Community in 1986. That's now called the European Union. Today, Portugal is a democratic republic and remains a member of the European Union. Okay, so now let's discuss Fado music. Fado music is a traditional Portuguese music that dates back to the early 19th century. The word Fado, that's F-A-D-O, means destiny or fate. Fado melodies are typically slow and mournful. This is not really a happy music. The lyrics often touch on themes of a deep sense of longing, despair, and love. Fado lyrics are sung by fadistas, and they sing in a way that conveys that emotion, those emotions. Now, paramount to understanding Fado music is this concept of saudade. Saudade basically signifies a deep longing or nostalgia, often tinged with a sense of loss. So the sentiment of saudade, that's spelled S-A-U-D-A-D-E, is central to many Fado songs. As far as instrumentation, Fado music generally has a Portuguese guitar or a classical guitar, and sometimes the bass guitar is incorporated, other string instruments as well. So there you have it. There's a little bit on Fado music. Fado music originated in the urban working-class neighborhoods of Lisbon and later spread to other Portuguese cities. It was initially associated with taverns and bars where it was performed and linked to the people who would frequent those places like sailors and prostitutes and such. Now let's talk a little bit about Maria Severa. Severa was born in 1820. She's a Portuguese fado singer born in Lisbon. Her father was what we used to call a gypsy, a wanderer. We don't use the term gypsy anymore. It's considered pejorative. Her mother was a prostitute and a tavern owner, and Severa would perform in bars and play guitar in these brothels, and is often cited as the first fado singer. She was also known to have a great many love affairs. The most reported was her relationship with the Count of Vimioso. Now, Severa's fame grew with the 1901 novel called A Severa, and the book was made into a movie in 1931 under the same name. Maria Severa serves as a fado folk hero. She was known to wear a black shawl, which has become sort of the unofficial uniformed accessory for many fado singers. Now, sadly, Severa died at only the age of 26 of tuberculosis, so there is no record of her actually singing. So Maria Severa, born 1820, dies in 1846. Next up is Amalia Rodrigues, known as the Queen of Fado. Born in 1920 in Lisbon, she started singing in 1935 and began her professional career around 1939. During this time, she met classically trained composer Frederico Valario, who composed works for her to sing. By the early 1940s, she was a major star in Portugal and began working as a film actor. Her popularity later spread to Brazil and then Spain, and then she broke into U.S. markets and became the first Portuguese singer on American television, 1953. In the 50s and the 60s, she spent a lot of time in France, where she was beloved. In the 70s, her music spread to Italy and Japan. And she recorded up throughout the 1990s, although she was often in poor health, and died in 1999. Now, much of Rodrigues' career coincided with the rule of Antonio Salazar, 1932 through 1968. Salazar formed an oppressive political government in which censorship laws required fado singers to submit lyrics to be approved by the government before they could be recorded or performed. Rodrigues seemed more than comfortable working within Salazar's Estado Novo state, new state restrictions and form of governing, and she's been criticized at times for that association. But regardless of her political connections, Rodrigues is considered a Portuguese icon. And once again, she was given the nickname, the Queen of Fado, Amalia Rodrigues. One of Amalia Rodrigues' most signature songs is Fado Portuguese. The lyrics express deep emotion and cultural connection to Fado music. It's a heartfelt tribute to the essence of Portuguese music and culture and that feeling of saudade, that feeling of longing. The lyrics translate to the following, at least the opening lyrics. Fado was born on a day when the wind barely stirred and the seas elongated the skies, on the main rail of a sailing ship, in the chest of a seaman, while sorrowful he sang. In this version, you will hear Rodrigues singing along with the guitar. I believe there's two guitars, one being the Portuguese guitar and the other being a traditional classical guitar. Fado Portuguese is considered an anthem of Portuguese fado music. Please enjoy. Carlos do Carmo was born in 1939. Born in Lisbon, his mother was Lucilia do Carmo, a famed 1920s singer. Now, Carmo was initially poised for a career in hotel management in Switzerland, but when his father died, Carlos returned to Portugal to help his mother, and he then became inspired to sing. His career success truly began in the 1970s, and particularly after the Carnation Revolution, in which Salazar's style of rule and governing led to a more democratic government, allowing for fewer restrictions. His main influences at this time included Frank Sinatra. In fact, some people call him the Portuguese Frank Sinatra. Also into French pop music and bossa nova music and other styles. Carlos do Carmo is considered to be the most important of the male fadistas of his generation. Let's check out some of his music. Okay, gonna have to forgive my pronunciation on this one. This is Carlos do Carmo singing Lisboa Menina El Mocha, which means Lisbon, girl and gal. Lisbon's girl and gal. So in this song, Carmo sings about his love of Lisbon, the capital of Portugal, and he humanizes the city by describing it as a girl. Here are a few select lyrics, translated of course. Lisbon, girl and gal, by the light that my eyes are so pure, your breasts are the hills, your cry that brings me to the door, tenderness. He goes on, city of light embroidered, towel along the shore stretching out, Lisboa, girl and gal, beloved, city woman of my life. In Teatro, I pass you by, but in Graca, I see you naked. When a pigeon looks at you, it smiles. You are a woman of the street. And in the highest neighborhood of the dream, I place a fado that I created, brandy of life, and the Majornario berries that makes me sing. Now take notice not only of Carlos do Carmo's fantastic voice, but the guitar work here, and then the lush string arrangements that comes in as the song progresses. Let's check it out. Lisbon, girl and gal. Dulce Pontes was born in Motillo, Portugal. She is a well-trained pianist and singer who began working in her late teens and became known as a television actor in Portugal. In 1991, she represented Portugal at the Eurovision Song Contest and gained more notoriety when she cracked the top 10 in that contest. In the press, she was hailed as the heir to Amalia Rodrigues. Although much of her work is connected to mainstream pop music and world music, she sings mainly in Portuguese and often sings older fado materials as well. She has performed with a large group of cross-cultural artists, including the Chieftains and jazz legend Wayne Shorter. Dulce Pontes was born in 1969 and is still very popular today. Next, we will hear Dulce Pontes' fantastic version of Fado Me, which means Mother Fado. The song is sung with deep emotion, and take notice of the gorgeous guitar solo that comes in around the 2-minute mark. As for the lyrics, they translate loosely to this. My spring, my river, water pure and beautiful, in your eyes a sun. That is my window. I wish I were the sea, to lull her and make her sleep, and not let her body go cold. Shelter her breasts in my hands, and let not wind, not rain, not sorrow, nor the loneliness in her water plunge my heart. Oh, I wish I were the sea, to lull her and make her sleep. Let's enjoy Fado Me, Mother Fado. The artist known as Mariza was born in 1973 in Portuguese Mozambique, but moved to Portugal at the age of 3 and was raised in Lisbon. She grew up singing gospel, soul, and jazz before adopting fado music. When Amalia Rodrigues died in 1999, a new fado resurgence began, and Mariza was at the forefront of that movement. She is often classified as part of the new fado movement and mixed various genres with traditional fado music. Widely successful, Mariza has sold over 1 million records worldwide. One of Mariza's most popular songs is Maldor de Mim. It's part of her album Mundo, which was released in 2015. It is a popular and emotional fado song that blends pop music sensibilities as well. The lyrics are about love, longing, and giving one's best to make a relationship work. It translates to best of me. Maldor de mim means best of me. Here are a few select lyrics. Today, the seed that sleeps on the ground and hides in the dark that it holds will be born a flower tomorrow, although the hope of the light is scarce. The rain that wets and passes will bring love in a drop. I am also waiting for the light. I let myself hear where the shadow seduces. I am also waiting for myself. Something tells me that the storm will pass. Later on, the lyrics are as follows. And even without seeing, believing, it is life that goes on and does not wait for us. Each step that we take forward, walking without fear of making mistakes. I believe that the night will ever become a day, and the glow that the sun irradiates will always shine upon me. I know that the best of me is to come. I know that the best of me yet is to come. I know that the best of me is to come. And that's how the song ends. Really beautiful song. Let's enjoy. Maldor de mim, best of me. Ana Moura, born in 1979 in Portugal, came to notoriety singing in Lisbon and then on television. In 2000, she became a celebrated star of Fado music and has even sung with the Rolling Stones and was praised by Prince, the artist known as Prince. Now, her fifth album, Fado, which was produced by Larry Klein, who produced Joni Mitchell's records, features a cover of Mitchell's A Case of You. It was released in November 2012, and the album debuted at number 2 and went to the top of the charts. The album topped sales in Portugal for 6 weeks, spent 117 weeks in the top 10, and 200 weeks on the entire chart, making it the all-time best charting album in Portugal. The album was certified 6 times platinum and became the best-selling album of the 2010s, released by a Portuguese act. Ana Moura. Fado is one of Ana Moura's most famed works. It comes from her 2012 album of the same name. The title is a play on words, combining fado, the musical genre, with desfado, which can be interpreted as undue fate. The lyrics of the song are introspective and contemplative, exploring themes of love and fate and the passage of time. Here are some of those lyrics. It's my destiny, wish that I don't believe in destiny. My fado song is to have no fado song to sing. It's to sing it without having ever felt it, to sense it like no one else, but being senseless at the same time. Oh, how sad this joy that I have is. Oh, how glad this deep sadness. To wait that someday I won't be waiting one more day for someone that never arrives and that has been present here. So it's kind of this play on opposites, if you will. But nonetheless, it's a really cool song. Let's enjoy Ana Moura's Fado. All right, now let's tap into Morna music. Morna is a genre of music that originated in the Cape Verde Islands, a group of islands off the coast of West Africa, and is often considered the national music of Cape Verde is Morna music. Now, Cape Verde Islands were uninhabited when the Portuguese people came in the 15th century explorers, and then the Portuguese colonized the islands in the 15th century, and it became an important stopover for ships traveling between Europe and the Americas. The Portuguese also brought enslaved Africans to the islands to work on plantations. Cape Verde played a significant role in the transatlantic slave trade. Slaves were brought to the islands from various parts of Africa before being sent to the Americans. Over the centuries, Cape Verde developed a unique Creole culture, a cross-blending culture, because of the descendants of African slaves mixed with Portuguese settlers and other inhabitants. Cape Verde became an overseas province of Portugal in the mid-20th century. They had a fight for independence beginning in the 1950s, led by the African Party for the Independence of Guinea and Cape Verde. And after long struggles, Cape Verde gained its independence on July 5th of 1975. The country transitioned to a multi-party democracy in the 1990s, which facilitated economic reforms and increased some stability. Today, Cape Verde focuses on tourism, fishing, and is a key source of income and economic development is their fishing and their tourism. And it's made significant progress in areas like education, healthcare, and infrastructure. So Morna music is known for its melancholy and soulful melodies, typically accompanied by acoustic guitars, violins, and other traditional instruments. Morna is often compared to Portuguese fado due to the emotions of its lyrics and those themes of love and longing, nostalgia, and hard living. The music is most frequently sung in the Cape Verdean Creole language, which adds to its unique cultural identity. Cesaria Evora is known as the Queen of Morna. Born in 1941, her father was a violinist who died when she was young, and her mother struggled to raise her and her 6 siblings alone, and they grew up in extreme poverty and were forced to leave their mother's care. Evora received very little education and was raised for some time by her grandmother before being forced to live in an orphanage by the age of 10. She took up singing, and then at the age of 16, she met a guitarist, and the two of them began singing and playing in bars. She gained notoriety on the Cape Verde Islands and soon became known in places like Portugal and the Netherlands in the 1950s. And then she found some fame in the early 1960s. At times, she wrote songs about her struggles regarding her challenges as a mixed-race woman who grew up poor. And she often performed barefoot, possibly as a reminder of the poverty she overcame. And she became also known as the Barefoot Diva at this time. Now, sadly, her fame didn't last moving into the 70s, and she began to have career struggles during the decade. And in 1970, it led to a retirement from singing. Now, she was depressed by this situation, and she became an alcoholic, lost most of her money and her family, and was forced to reconnect and live with her mother. But she made a triumphant return in 1985. She returned to music and toured the U.S. in 1987 and began finding international success later in her life. So this culminated with her first Grammy Award in 2004 for her album Voz de Amor. This resurgence in her career sustained her till her death in 2011. The Barefoot Diva, the Queen of Morna, Cesaria Evora. The song So Dad is a Cape Verdean Morna classic sung by and written by Cesaria Evora. Now again, the term So Dad in Portuguese is a term that doesn't really have a direct English translation, but it basically conveys a sense of longing and nostalgia. In this case, the narrator is nostalgic over their homeland and their desire to return to that homeland. Let's check it out. Tito Paris is a Cape Verdean singer and guitarist who began recording in 1978. In the 1980s, he was a member of the band Os Gaiatos in Portugal. In 1987, he released his self-titled album and recorded with Cesaria Evora on the album Cesaria. Paris has toured internationally and has enjoyed a 40-plus year career. Dança Mami Criolla is a popular Cape Verdean song, and it translates to Dance With Me Criolla in English. Criolla is a term used in Cape Verde to refer to Cape Verdean women. The song is sung in the Cape Verdean Creole language by Tito Paris, and it blends Portuguese and African languages, this Creole language, and it's often used in Cape Verdean music to convey the unique cultural identity of the islands. Danza Mami Carola is lively and blends some elements of Latin music and jazz. So check it out. Tito Paris doing Danza Mami Carola. Enjoy. All right, there you have it, my friends. There's our discovery or intro into the music of Fado and Morna music, Portuguese music, Cape Verdean music. I hope you enjoyed. For all things regarding the podcast, you can go to 30 albums for 30 years. Together, let's keep this music alive. Have a wonderful day. Peace.